I knew it was over the moment Ashley Reed walked into my office wearing that smug smile and carrying a manila folder like it was some kind of trophy. Not because of the quarterly reports or the whispers in the break room, but because this 29-year-old MBA princess had just replaced our industrial coffee machine with some organic kombucha tap that smelled like a gym locker. My name is Scott Martinez. I'm 48 years old, and for the past 14 years, I've been the Safety and Environmental Compliance Manager at Pinnacle Manufacturing Solutions here in Ohio. That's a fancy way of saying I'm the only thing standing between a bunch of heavy machinery and a federal safety violation that could shut us down faster than you can say OSHA inspection. I know every bolt, every safety protocol, and every skeleton buried in this place. Given our safety record before I got here, maybe not so metaphorically. The summons to Ashley's office came at 9:30 a.m. on a Wednesday. The email subject line read Strategic Realignment and Digital Transformation. Might as well have said, bring a box for your stuff. I walked into what used to be her grandmother's office. Patricia Reed had built this company from nothing, back when you could still smoke in factories and safety regulations were more like suggestions. The office used to smell like machine oil and determination. Now it looked like an Apple store had an accident with a meditation app. Everything was white glass and those weird standing desks that cost more than my truck. Ashley was sitting behind a desk that probably cost more than I made in 2 months, vaping something that smelled like cotton candy and bad decisions. She wasn't even wearing proper safety shoes, just some designer flats that would get her toes crushed if she ever set foot on the factory floor, which she never did. "Scott, have a seat," she said, gesturing to a chair that looked like it was designed by someone who hated human backs. "We're implementing some exciting changes today." Exciting changes. I'd heard that before. In the Navy, we called it all hands on deck before the ship goes down. Changes? I kept my voice level. 14 years in the Navy taught me not to react until I knew what I was dealing with. Exactly. "Look, Scott, we appreciate your legacy here, but we're pivoting toward a more agile, cloud-native approach to compliance. We need fresh perspectives, digital natives who can think outside the box." I blinked. "Ashley, OSHA isn't cloud native. They're federal inspectors with clipboards and the authority to shut us down if we're not following safety protocols. I built our compliance system from the ground up. It's not an app you download from the store." She gave me that condescending smile you see on people who think cryptocurrency makes them Warren Buffett. "We've hired Consult Tech Solutions. They're going to automate your workflow. So unfortunately, we're going to have to let you go, effective immediately." I stared at her, listening to the hum of the ventilation system in Bay 3, which I knew had a bearing that needed replacing next week, or the whole air filtration system would fail. I knew that. She didn't. "You're firing me," I said, just to make sure I understood the situation. "We're right-sizing," she corrected, tapping her vape pen on the glass desk. "Now, if you could hand over your badge and laptop, security is outside to help you collect your personal effects." Let me pause here for a second. If you're enjoying watching a trust fund baby destroy a multi-million-dollar manufacturing company in real time, you're going to love what happens next. "Ashley," I said, standing up. I felt that calm washing over me that I used to get during emergency drills on the ship. "Just so we're clear, you're terminating my employment, confiscating my equipment, and telling me my services are no longer required. That's the gist of it, yes. Sign here for your severance package. 3 weeks pay, 3 weeks. 14 years of keeping this place running safely. 14 years of preventing accidents that would have bankrupted the company." And she offers me 3 weeks and a smile. "Okay," I said. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my badge. It was worn around the edges, the plastic cracked from years of daily use. I placed it on her pristine glass desk with a distinct click. Then I set down the laptop. The password is taped under the keyboard. "But Ashley, the safety compliance system isn't just files on a computer." "We've got it covered, Scott." She waved dismissively, already looking at her phone, probably checking Instagram or whatever platform she uses to document her daily inspirational quotes. I walked out of that office with Wade, our security guard, following behind me. Poor Wade had worked here almost as long as I had. He was looking at the floor, ashamed. "Sorry about this, Scott," Wade muttered as we reached the front gate. "Don't worry about it, Wade," I said, lighting a cigarette the second my feet hit the sidewalk. "Just do me a favor. Keep your head down tomorrow morning around 8 a.m. Why? What happens at 8 a.m.? I exhaled smoke into the Ohio air. The future comes to collect on the past. See, Ashley made one critical mistake. She assumed compliance was just a department. It wasn't. It was me. And she assumed the automated safety reports I had set up were company property. They weren't. They were scripts running on my personal credentials, linked to my encryption keys designed to require manual authorization every 24 hours. A dead man's switch. If I didn't log in by 7:45 a.m. to review and approve the daily safety reports, the system didn't just stop working. It defaulted to raw data transmission mode, sending every sensor reading, every alarm, every malfunction directly to OSHA's database without any of my usual corrections. I got into my 2018 Ford F-150, the engine running smooth as the day I bought it. I looked back at the shiny glass facade of the corporate offices. Ashley was probably up there high-fiving herself, thinking she just saved $95,000 a year in salary. She didn't save money, she just armed a bomb and handed me the detonator. I drove home without crying, without screaming. Just turned up the classic rock station, some Creedence Clearwater Revival, and stopped at the hardware store. I had a date with my workshop and a laptop that was about to become the most dangerous piece of equipment in the state. You have to understand something about precision manufacturing in the industrial Midwest. It's not like those tech startups Ashley probably read about in Forbes. It's not clean code and beanbag chairs. It's a constant war against physics, chemistry, and Murphy's Law. Pinnacle Manufacturing makes precision aerospace components. Sounds boring, right? Wrong. We're talking about parts that go into Boeing aircraft, parts that keep planes in the sky and passengers alive. The tolerances we work with are measured in thousandths of an inch. The safety protocols aren't suggestions. They're the difference between a successful flight and a smoking hole in the ground. For the past 14 years, my job wasn't just filing paperwork. I was the guardian of a system that Ashley thought she could just hand over to some consultant fresh out of college. The safety monitoring system I'd built wasn't something you buy off the shelf. It was a custom network of sensors, automated reports, and manual overrides that I'd pieced together over more than a decade. We had protocols for everything: air quality, noise levels, machinery vibration, chemical storage, emergency procedures. Monday mornings, I checked the air filtration readings. If the particulate count went above 0.3 micrograms per cubic meter, OSHA would fine us $15,000. Wednesday afternoons, I audited the chemical storage bay. If any hazardous material sat there longer than the permitted time, that was a $28,000 per day violation. Friday evenings, the big one, the comprehensive safety report that told OSHA we weren't putting our workers in danger. Ashley didn't know about the quirks in the system, didn't know that sensor array 7 always read high because of electromagnetic interference from the CNC machines, so you had to manually subtract 15% to get the real reading. If you reported the raw number, you were confessing to a safety violation. If you reported 0, you were lying to the government. You had to know the math. I remember a surprise inspection 3 years ago. The old plant manager, a tough guy who'd worked his way up from the factory floor, came to me sweating bullets. "Scott," he said, chewing on an unlit cigar, "OSHA inspector just walked in. He looks like he's having a bad day. Fix this." I walked that inspector through our facility for 4 hours. I showed him safety logs so detailed they included weather patterns and machine maintenance schedules. I explained our protocols until his eyes glazed over. By the end, he was so impressed with our documentation that he signed off on everything just to escape my presentation. That was the job. Overwhelming government inspectors with competence while quietly maintaining a system held together with precision engineering and constant vigilance. But Ashley saw me as overhead. "Scott just sits at his computer," she probably told the board. "He's a legacy cost." She didn't realize I hadn't had an assistant in 3 years because of budget cuts. I was doing the work of 3 people: safety manager, environmental officer, and backup maintenance coordinator when things went sideways. When I got home that evening, I sat in my kitchen. My house is like me, functional, clean, and built to last. I poured myself a beer and looked at the clock. 6 p.m. At the plant, the night shift was starting. Right about now, the thermal systems usually spiked. The alarm would normally go off in my office, and I'd remotely adjust the cooling systems. I stared at my phone. No alerts, because I didn't have access anymore. I imagined the alarm blaring in my empty office. I imagined Ashley walking by, hearing it, and assuming someone else would handle it. But there was no someone else. The consult tech team wasn't due to arrive until Monday. Ashley had created a 4-day gap where nobody was watching the store. And then there was my masterpiece, the cloud reporting system. OSHA requires continuous monitoring of workplace safety conditions. Since our hardware was older than some of our employees, it couldn't communicate directly with federal databases. So I'd written custom software. The sensors talked to our local servers, my software compiled and corrected the data, then uploaded it to a secure cloud account that OSHA accessed every morning at 8 a.m. sharp. But here's the thing. The cloud account was registered under my name, on my personal credit card. Why? Because corporate IT took 6 months to approve new software purchases, and I needed it running immediately to avoid violations. So I did what any competent person does. I made it work. Ashley fired me and took my company laptop, but she didn't ask for the password to the cloud system. She didn't even know it existed. Sitting in my kitchen, I opened my personal laptop. I logged into the cloud dashboard. There it was, green lights across the board, the heartbeat of the factory. I could have just shut it down, could have deleted everything. That would have been petty, and I'm not petty. I'm professional. I looked at the scheduled tasks. Next execution, tomorrow, 7:45 a.m. Action. Compile and transmit daily safety compliance report to OSHA Region 5 database. Usually I manually reviewed the data at 7:30 a.m., filtered out the sensor glitches and electromagnetic interference, then approved the transmission. I disabled the manual review requirement. Then I disabled the error correction algorithms. Basically, I told the system, whatever the raw, uncorrected sensors detect, tell the federal government. Tell them everything. I took a long drink of beer. It tasted like justice. There's a specific kind of quiet that comes when you know a storm is brewing. It's not peaceful, it's heavy, like the air before a tornado. I spent the evening doing normal things, which felt surreal. I fed Max, my German Shepherd rescue. I watched the news. I grilled a burger and ate it on the back porch, listening to the sounds of the neighborhood settling in for the night. All the while, my laptop sat open on the dining room table, the screen glowing like mission control. I checked the raw data streaming from the plant. Without my daily corrections, the numbers were getting interesting. The air quality in Bay 2 was reading 0.45 micrograms. The limit is 0.3. That's a violation. The noise levels in the stamping section were hitting 92 decibels. OSHA limit is 85, another violation. And the best one, the chemical storage sensor in Building C was throwing error code 4472, sensor malfunction, unable to determine safe status. When the system detects a sensor malfunction, my protocol was to hold the report and alert the manager, me, to physically check the situation. But without error correction active, the system defaults to OSHA emergency protocol. You know what OSHA's emergency protocol is for unknown chemical status? Assume worst-case scenario until proven otherwise. Tomorrow morning, my computer was going to tell the federal government, we don't know what's happening in our chemical storage area, so assume we're violating every safety regulation in the book. I slept better than I had in years. No 3 a.m. anxiety about missed inspections or potential violations. For the first time in 14 years, whatever happened at that plant wasn't my responsibility. I woke up at 6:30 a.m. out of habit. For a moment, I panicked, thinking I needed to rush to beat the morning traffic. Then I remembered. I didn't work there anymore. I made real coffee, the good stuff, not the break room swill. 7:40 a.m. I sat in front of my laptop. The terminal window was counting down like a space shuttle launch. Status, pre-flight check initiated. Connection, active. Target, OSHA R5 submission portal. I could stop it. I could hit cancel. The report would just fail to send, resulting in a $5,000 missed filing penalty. Manageable. A slap on the wrist. But Ashley didn't treat me like a missed filing. She treated me like garbage. 7:45 a.m. My phone buzzed with a text from Nicole in accounting. Place is chaos. Ashley running around with consultants who look like they're 12 years old. Someone asked where the safety dashboard is. Ashley pointed to the fire alarm panel. We miss you. I smiled. The fire alarm panel. Classic. 7:45 a.m. On my screen, executing transmission. Packet 1 of 6 sent. Packet 2 of 6 sent. It was done. The report was in the federal database. a legally binding document stating that Pinnacle Manufacturing was currently operating in violation of the Occupational Safety and Health Act, the chemical storage regulations, and basic common sense. I closed the laptop and made breakfast, real breakfast, eggs, bacon, toast, the kind of meal you eat when you have time to enjoy it. 8:00 a.m. OSHA's Chicago office opens at 8:00 a.m. Their automated flagging system takes about 10 minutes to process incoming data and identify critical violations. By 8:15 a.m., red lights were going to start flashing on a federal dashboard 300 miles away. By 8:30 a.m., a human being named Agent Ryan Kellerman, I knew Ryan, he was thorough and had zero sense of humor about safety violations, would see those red lights. By 9:00 a.m., the field response team would be dispatched. I sipped my coffee and watched the morning news. The quiet in my house was beautiful. The chaos was about to start, but for the first time in 14 years, it wasn't my chaos. The text messages started at 8:50 a.m. Wade, federal vehicles, 3 black SUVs just blew past the guard gate. They didn't stop to show ID. I chuckled. The OSHA emergency response team doesn't wait for security clearance. When they get a critical violation alert, they have authority to enter any workplace immediately. Nicole. Ashley just ran out of her office looking like she saw a ghost. Who are these people in Navy windbreakers? Navy windbreakers. That meant it wasn't a routine inspection. That was the serious team. The ones who show up when somebody might die if they don't act fast. Based on my texts and my knowledge of federal procedure, here's how I imagine the scene played out. Ashley probably met them in the lobby wearing her confident CEO smile, trying to deploy her millennial charm. Good morning, gentlemen. We weren't expecting visitors today, but we're always happy to accommodate federal agencies. Agent Kellerman, who has all the personality of a tax audit, would have said, "We received an automated critical violation alert at 7:45 a.m. indicating multiple safety protocol failures and unknown chemical storage status. Where is Scott Martinez?" That was the moment. The record scratch. The oh no moment. Scott is no longer with the organization. We've restructured our compliance department. Restructured? You fired your safety officer and didn't appoint a replacement before filing your daily reports? We have consultants. Consult Tech Solutions. Ma'am, I don't care if you have the Justice League. Your system just reported that you have unknown chemical hazards and multiple safety violations. We're issuing an immediate cease and desist order. Nicole. OMG, they're shutting everything down. The production line just stopped. Ashley is screaming at the consultants. The consultants are crying. This is amazing. The cease and desist order. It's the nuclear option in manufacturing. It doesn't mean take a break. It means cut power to all production equipment, secure all hazardous materials, and send the workers to the break room until further notice. Every minute the line was down cost Pinnacle approximately $3,800 in lost revenue. Our contract with Boeing had penalty clauses for late delivery. This wasn't just expensive. It was catastrophic. Wade. They just put yellow tape around the entire chemical storage building. They're taking samples of everything. Ashley is trying to call her grandmother in Arizona. I pictured Ashley sweating through that designer blazer. She probably thought compliance was just a checkbox, a minor inconvenience. She didn't realize it was the foundation that kept the entire business from collapsing. Around 10:30 a.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. The transcription a minute later. Mr. Martinez, this is Agent Kellerman, OSHA Region 5. We're currently conducting an emergency inspection at Pinnacle Manufacturing. We need to discuss the safety monitoring data from this morning. Current management appears unable to access historical calibration records. Please return this call. I didn't call back. I was a private citizen. I had no obligation to OSHA. Then came the second call. Caller ID, Pinnacle Manufacturing. It was Ashley. I let it ring 4 times before picking up. Scott! Thank God you answered. Her voice was an octave higher than usual. She sounded like a teenager who just crashed Daddy's car. This is Scott Martinez, I said, my voice calm and professional. Scott, look, there's been a misunderstanding. OSHA is here, and they're saying our system reported multiple violations, but there are no violations. It's obviously a computer glitch. You know how to fix these glitches, right? I do, I said. It's a calibration error in the sensor arrays. Requires manual offset calculations based on electromagnetic interference patterns and environmental conditions. Yes, exactly. Can you just log in remotely and fix it? I'll pay you for the day. Consultant rate. I took a slow drag of my cigarette. Ashley, I can't do that. Why not? Because I don't work for Pinnacle anymore, and accessing corporate systems after termination would be a violation of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. That's a felony. You wouldn't want me to commit a federal crime, would you? Scott, please. They shut down the production line. We're losing almost $4,000 a minute. Boeing is threatening to pull our contract. That sounds like a management problem. You should ask your digital natives. Maybe they can disrupt OSHA. Silence. Then, Scott, stop playing games. The facade cracked. The entitled rage spilled out. You did this on purpose. You sabotaged us. I didn't do anything, Ashley. That's the point. I did nothing. You fired the pilot mid-flight, and now you're surprised the plane is crashing. I hung up and blocked her number. I opened a Word document and typed, Proposal for Crisis Remediation and Consulting Services. I paused at the fee structure. Originally, I was thinking $150,000, but then I remembered her tone. We're right-sizing. I remembered those 3 weeks of severance. I typed $180,000 as well. By afternoon, Patricia Reed called from Arizona, the founder, the woman who'd built Pinnacle from nothing. Scott Martinez, I answered. Scott. Her voice sounded like gravel and cigarettes. What the hell is going on up there? I'm playing bridge and I get a call saying federal agents shut down my factory. Ashley fired me yesterday, Patricia. Fired me without transition protocols for the safety system. The system auto-reported violations this morning. That girl is an idiot. She says you're demanding $1.8 million. OSHA fines start at $28,000 per day per violation. Boeing contract penalties are probably $500K for late delivery. Lost production is costing you $3,800 per minute. By tomorrow morning, you'll have lost more than my fee. Silence. If I pay this, can you fix it? I can. I have 14 years of calibration data to prove the sensor errors. I can generate corrected reports and walk Agent Kellerman through the historical logs. Stop work order lifted by tomorrow afternoon. I'll have the lawyers draw up the contract. 2 hours later, the DocuSign arrived. I signed it and watched the green progress bar complete. That evening, I put on my work boots and drove back to Pinnacle. Ashley was waiting in the lobby, looking like she'd aged 10 years in 10 hours. You really held us hostage, she said as I walked past. I stopped and looked her in the eye. Ashley, I didn't hold anyone hostage. I charged you a stupidity tax, and you qualified for the premium rate. The conference room smelled like stress sweat. Agent Kellerman and his partner were there with laptops and documentation everywhere. When I walked in, Kellerman's shoulders relaxed. Mr. Martinez, about time. I spent the next 2 hours walking them through 14 years of data. I showed them the sensor interference patterns, the electromagnetic correction factors, the maintenance schedules that proved our equipment was functioning properly. By 10 o'clock p.m., Kellerman closed his laptop. All right, I'm satisfied. The data supports sensor interference, not actual safety violations. We're lifting the cease and desist order pending physical sensor replacement within 48 hours. He looked at Ashley. You got lucky. If he hadn't kept these records, I would have recommended permanent closure. As I packed up, I turned to the ConsultTech consultants. Gentlemen, you want the system credentials? They nodded eagerly. Great, I wrote on a sticky note. User, Scott M. Password, you get what you pay for 1. The system code is 60,000 lines of Python. No comments. Good luck. Their faces went white. 3 months later, I'm standing in my workshop on 40 acres in rural Ohio. My phone buzzes with a LinkedIn notification. Ashley Reed has viewed my profile. Her status still says open to work. Patricia sold the company for 30 cents on the dollar. Nicole is the new CFO somewhere better. Wade got promoted to facilities manager. They asked me to come back, offered me a VP position. I sent them a picture of my workshop with the caption, "Thanks, but I'm building something better." Max drops his tennis ball at my feet and looks up at me with those smart German shepherd eyes. What do you think, boy? Did we do the right thing? He wags his tail. Even the dog knows some lessons cost $1.8 million to learn. For 14 years, I kept that factory running safe and legal. And when they threw me away like an old safety manual, I reminded them what expertise is actually worth.